Hello everyone. Today I'll be talking about getting all mails from all mailboxes Office 365 using client auth flow. Uh, we'll be using Graph APIs to achieve the same. So the prerequisite for this is you should be an administrator of an Office 365 account. Also I'll be talking about permission types. So let's get started. So first thing first, you'll need to register an app on the Azure portal. So as soon as you log into the Azure portal, you'll see a button on the left hand side which says Azure Active Directory. So once you click on that, this particular page appears. You need to click on the app registration button. Followed by that, you need to click on the new application registration button, and then you need to fill in the following fields. You need to provide a name for the application type, which is web app/API, and the sign-on URL. The sign-on URL is basically the sign-on URL to your web app. So just in case you're not really interested in creating an application as of now, and you want to see how the endpoint works, you could provide a dummy URL, something like this. Um, Having provided the following details, uh, you need to get the application ID and the authentication key. So once you've created an app, you could just go to the search option and search for the app, click on it, and this particular page appears, which provides you the following details. The application ID is available. Copy this application ID because it will be useful to get the token, which in turn will be required to authenticate you to access the Graph API endpoints to get mails from mailboxes and stuff like that. Also, go to the settings tab, followed by that select keys and create a new key for the applications. As the name suggests, this key uh, will basically help the application recognize you. You need to provide a description, the expiry time, and the value. Description could be anything. I guess for expiry time you have three values available: 1 year, 2 year, and forever. You could choose any of those. And as soon as you hit the save button, this particular string appears. Make sure you copy this and place it somewhere safe, because it's, like this particular string stays here only for 5 seconds or so. uh, and you could add as many as keys as you want, right? So once you have done with all of that, you need to provide permissions for application. We are basically interested in Microsoft Graph API permissions. Just select the appropriate API and provide the appropriate permissions. So under Microsoft Graph, we are interested in application permissions. uh, and under application permissions, we are interested in read mail and all mailboxes. So there are basically two types of permissions: application permissions and delegate permissions. So just briefly talk about each of these types. So what are application permissions? So consider a scenario where you are administrator of an organization and you want to get mails from mailboxes of user A, B, and C, and you do not want user A, B, and C to key in their credentials every time you want to perform this operation. So you want to basically do this operation on their behalf, and you're interested in something known as application permissions. Now consider this another scenario where you're not an administrator, and you basically want each user to key in their credentials each time to get uh, to get mails from their individual mailboxes. So you could just provide delegate permissions and say read mail in mailboxes. But yeah, so I hope you got the idea. So delegate permissions will are only restricted at the user level. You can't perform administrator set of actions here, whereas permissions more often more from an administrator point of view. Okay, so once you provide permissions, you need to hit the save button, and followed by that it's necessary to click this grant permission button. So until and unless you click the grant permission button, these permissions won't be applied. So make sure you do that. uh, yeah, now let's make API calls to these endpoints. So first thing first is that you need to get the token, uh, uh, so that later on you can make API calls to get mail in all mailboxes. So to get this token, you need to provide the following URL, this URL, right? Which is basically something slash your tenant ID, so which is something like uh, uh, basically whatever comes after at the rate in an email ID. So abc at the rate something.com. So this basically is something.com slash auth2 slash v2.0 slash token, and you need to provide following key value pairs in the body. So client ID, client secret, scope, and runtime. So client ID is basically the application ID. Client secret is the string that got generated after you save the key. Scope is basically the scope of permissions against which you will be getting your data. The grant type is client credential. Since we are following the client credential flow to get our data, it's client credential. Let's hit the send button. Yeah, so once you hit the send button, you get your access token. So copy this access token and paste it here. Uh, Now we'll invoke the endpoint to get mails for a particular user. You could repeat this process and get mails for all users. So this endpoint is basically like v1.2 slash users, your user's email ID slash messages, but you'll get messages for that particular user. So you could do it for user A, then for B, and then for C, and then repeat this process and get mails for all from all the mailboxes in the organization. You need to provide bearer space the token which we just generated, right? That's the send button. Once you hit the send button, you'll get all the data that's present in the mailbox in JSON format. Yeah, so yeah, that's it, I guess. Thanks.